What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. It's a big one. It is a big one. In my last video, I wasn't sure of where to go. I needed some help from you guys. I asked you guys. I got some responses on Twitter, on Discord, on YouTube itself. I've finally made up my mind, and we are going to talk about exactly what I've done, exactly why I've done it. Let's get into it. I'm going to start with a couple of sales. Christian Espinoza, you are out the door. It was a little bit gutting, really, because a few weeks ago, you can see here that he was selling for a decent amount of money. I could have probably got close to double. Well, no, actually not double, but a little bit more than what I got him for. Than what I sold him for. I sold him for 0.08 in the end. We look at his scores. Now, I've said before, he is the main man for this team, San Jose. He is going to get decisive. He is going to rack up scores. But you can see here, this stretch of games has been appalling for him. So I thought, you know what? Let's get the ETH. Let's get him out of the gallery. Then, the person I didn't really want to be selling, but I had to sell him, Griezmann. Griezmann is gone for 0.7. There was a leak that his agent met with some of the Saudi Arabia teams or representatives, whatever's going on out there about a transfer. It worried me because it was a significant amount of ETH for my gallery. I got my money's worth out of Griezmann. I'm very, very happy with it. He earned me some decent rewards. I loved having him in the gallery, and I sold him for a profit as well. So he is gone, which is unfortunate. However, is what it is. We move. That enabled me to have a decent amount of ETH. I haven't had that since I kind of deposited. And so what was I going to do? Well, this guy on screen right here, Reynoso, comes straight in. Now, I was streaming and watching the games like I do, kind of on a Sunday morning or a Saturday night, depending on when they start. This guy was just racking up points like it was just nothing. I mean, since he's come back to Minnesota, we take a look at his scores here from an AA point of view. So he had 20 coming off the bench in 25 minutes. He had 30 coming on for 45 minutes. And then he plays the full, basically the full 90. He scores. He gets 27 AA. Reynoso, we know that he's going to be the main man. They've just signed Timu Pukki as well. So I expect them to rack up a decent partnership. It could be a little stack moving forward, a good stack. But he's just come in for that price. I think even since then, people have tried to get him in as soon as possible. But the best price that you can get him at is 0.235. He's got potential, in my opinion, to be as good as a scorer as Zelarayan has been for this year. Next, what happened? This is what happened. Another super rare enters the gallery. Nuhu and Stefan Frey. I went with these guys. Frey come out the other day and said that he doesn't want to retire at the end of the season. So whether he stays in Seattle, whether he moves somewhere else, I feel as though he's got another season in him. And Seattle, historically, or the last few years especially, have been decent at home. They've obviously won the Champions League last year, and you know they can do bits. It allows me to play matchups with my super rares. I run Rare Pro, All-Star Rare Pro. I run America Rare Pro. But because I'm fixed on that Houston backline and I'm fixed on the Nashville backline, if they're both playing away and they've both got terrible fixtures, I'm kind of putting out two lineups that are more likely to foul than the other ones. So if I had a third one in there, I can play the matchups. And don't get me wrong, I could still, play a Tolu with a Lovitz and just play Fry in something else if it's a really bad lineup. But it gives me that flexibility, and that was part of the strategy around this, is giving me better chance at winning the competitions that historically that I've done well in. Let's take a look at why I picked up Nuhu. So his scores, and this comes down to the match rotation, right? So if I just go on, let's just go year to date, just Seattle, and we're going to be taking a look at let's just take a look at his starts, right? He normally starts. I think he had a couple of injury problems, but he normally starts. Now, he has good upside, right? An 84 at home, an 82 at home, and 93 at home. He is capable of these spikes, even though he doesn't really get decisive. So he's had one decisive all year at home, but he can rack up those AAs. So again, if Seattle, I mean, even this week, they're playing Houston. Who would I rather have? The home stack or the away stack? In this case, it's definitely the home stack. And he is capable of that spiking. And when you whack on that, I think I've got like nearly 27% on this guy onto a 93. I'm in the running. I am happy about getting this guy in. Let's talk about the price. So this is 0.62. So Nuhu's last sales, so a month ago, and then before that, that was an auction. Prior to that, for the last 2 months, he's only had a couple of sales from there. So we look at that price at 0.38, and then we look at this price at 0.4. I would say that I picked up Nuhu if I was to split these guys out for around about 0.4, which, we are mid-season in the MLS. There's no other things that are going on, so to speak, apart from the under-21 stuff. But he's going to be a touch inflated. Even trade-wise, it's not been, 6 months ago, the best part of it. I've probably paid when he's been at his premium, but I've got in my mind now that anybody that I purchase, I am looking for a longer run, a longer stretch, especially super rare-wise. I'd say that I picked up Fry for 0.22, being that his new card, and then I picked up Nuhu for 0.4, and I'm happy with it. This happened after that. I finally lost my patience with Eloy Room. He started for his country. He played 120 minutes for them and the penalty shootout. He then come back and he doesn't even make the bench for Columbus Crew. Now, that doesn't mean that he's just out of it and he's never going to play for them again. I'm not saying that. However, I feel, the floor price at the moment is 0.11. I think that 0.11 can go further in my gallery if I was to be holding him and say he moves back to Vitesse or somebody like that, or comes over to Europe to another country. Yes, he might go back up to that 0.25, right? But I think that bridge in between, that 0.15, I think that I can earn in the next 6 weeks out of rewards from the direction that I've been traveling in. The other one is Joe Bendik. So I told you in a few videos back why I brought this guy in, because Blake's obviously at the Gold Cup. I had Wagner, and I wanted to do that Philly stack, as I always like to do with goalkeeper and defender. Even since that I made this trade, his value was around about 0.08, 0.09. Look at that. His last sale was 0.05. That's obviously because the longer that goes on, and day by day is the day by day that Blake's going to come back. Who knows what could happen, but he's definitely not going to be the number one if Blake is fit. So I thought, do you know what? If his price is going to just literally tank in half, let's just see what else I can get for it, and let's just get him out the door. No one was biting on a sale when I was listing him up, so I whacked him in this trade. The one that I wasn't best pleased about was including Mateus, because I do think out the summer he's one of the best forwards to have. But again, I've included him in there from a price point of view. The other thing with having just kind of one Asia player, and I had this with a goalkeeper that I got rid of a few weeks back as well, but the issue with having Mateus in my gallery is that he limits me to only play All-Star. So yes, I'm playing All-Star Rare and I'm playing All-Star Rare Pro. So great, there's 2 teams. But then if I'm playing America Rare, if I'm playing America Rare Pro, I want the ability to just chop and change and play them matchups. I got in the backup for Fry. Obviously, he's aging. If he has this injury that ends the season, I need somebody in there. I'm sick and tired of having goalkeepers who are out on the international or get injured or whatever, and I haven't got their second choice. I haven't got the second keeper in that team. So I am going to start building that up and try and get a few more reserve goalkeepers in there. And also, if Fry does leave at the end of the season, if he does retire, whatever happens to him, I think that they give Cleveland a spot at number 1. So really, it's Bendik and Room for Cleveland, I would say, in that trade. And that's fine because, as I said, Bendik's price halved and Eloy Room wasn't really playing. But then I picked up Barraza. Everybody knows the situation, I think, who follows MLS football with New York City and what's going on there with the goalkeepers. The coach come out a couple of weeks ago and said that Freeze is going to get a shot at number 1, or at least shot at a few games, and then, we'll see. Barraza was only number 1 this season after Sean Johnson left. And the last game, Barraza was benched, Freeze played, and I think Freeze done okay from he did. Look, he's a 49. So how many saves did he get in here? 6 saves, 3 from inside the box, good high claim, diving catch. That's a decent performance. Yes, he conceded, but if he didn't, all of a sudden he's up in the what, like 80s, low 80s, high 70s, something like that, which is a fantastic performance. It's going to be a toss-up to who gets the next game, at least, and who continues as number 1. And originally, I was like, do you know what? Going to my method around Barraza and then getting in the second choice goalkeeper, I could listen out for some news and I could just buy Freeze for probably 0.09 at this point, and then just chop and change. But then I was thinking to myself, I'd be sick and tired if I got it wrong and then just put them in a priority lineup and they flopped. Let's get on to the next bit. So Barraza's in the gallery. Then all of a sudden, this kind of come out of nowhere. So what I was trying to do then was flip Barraza for another goalkeeper with a little bit of ETH, see what happens. Nobody was biting because obviously the situation with Barraza, and it's totally understandable. I wouldn't be biting on that either. But this come out of nowhere, and I was talking to this guy he said, well, I don't want you Barraza, but I'll take you Clark. So I was like, I don't really want to lose Clark because I've got the Sviatchenko super rare. Now, at the time of this, I don't know if this actually works. Well, I suppose it kind of does, right? So if someone bought the floor price at 0.17 right now, and then added on that 0.11, we're looking at 0.28, which is basically the floor price of Stuver. Stuver is one of the best AA goalkeepers in the MLS. I made that trade, and then all of a sudden I've got Stuver in, but I haven't got a Steve Clark. The next one, another goalkeeper enters in, and this is another a big trade. If we look at the ETH averages now, you can see it's almost in my favour. I didn't send him any ETH, it was just on the day. Alcaraz, just useless, just on there to add in the 0.01 or whatever it was. Corey Bird, he might come back into my gallery later on because he is a forward who does play, who can spike. So from that cap point of view, or a low priority lineup, he could be a good filler. Arta's gone, but the big one here that I let go was Kai Wagner. I only bought him a couple of weeks ago. First week he won me Ramsdale and earned me the best part of like 0.6 ETH, right? So he done his job. He done well. I sold him because there was some recent news as well, even more recent news about him being more eager to leave at the end of the season. There was rumours. I mean, what if he leaves in the next couple of weeks, right, and goes to somebody like Europe or second division Germany or whatever? I still think that he'll be a good player, Sorare wise, but he's not going to be nowhere near this price. And if there's doubt, I mean, look at this. In the last week, he's only sold once. In the last 2 weeks, he's only sold 4 times. And you expect a little bit more with the top players. I think that especially people coming from Europe into America wanting to pick him up, they're just going to look at who's the best defender, let's pick him up. Now, this worries me. His contract's expiring. I don't think he's going to be renewing. And I thought, it's too much. 0.2 is too much. I could probably pick up a Brooks Lennon, a Zimmerman, a Morales. I think that's how you say him. He plays in the Argentina League. And probably one more for the price of these who are all capable of really, really good scores. So I included him on that trade as well. And looking back at it now, I think it's worked kind of in my favour because I got Tyler Miller, a really good age. Again, he's 30. He's got another couple of years on his contract. That's definitely going to be extended. Even if they don't extend the contract, he goes somewhere else in the MLS. He's a really, really good goalkeeper. Really, really good from AA. Look at those scores there. Now, when I look at it, my goalkeepers, I've got Fry, I've got Willis, I've got Stuver, and I've got Tyler Miller. 4 amazing goalkeepers, in my opinion, in the MLS. Next one. Managed to get Steve Clark back. Even better because I didn't send any ETH or whatever. I'm totally out of this risk with Barraza. Totally out of it. But I've now picked up the 2022 version of Steve Clark to pair with my Herrera and somebody else that I've got in the gallery as well. At the time, I mean, ETH averages, you just look at that. Yes, it's in favour. However, Barraza, if he doesn't start next game and 3 starts, people are just going to be panicking. I mean, even the floor prices are exactly the same at the moment. So Steve Clark is now back in the gallery. So not only have I've got those 4, I've now got the stack with Steve Clark and Sviatchenko back. What happened next? I tell you, I bought this guy. I've been watching this guy. Now, this is not an important trade as such. I'm kind of preparing for the upcoming week in terms of a cap 240. But I said right at the beginning of the season that I think that Sporting Kansas City and Vancouver were going to have good seasons. Now, I've kind of been half right. One started well, one starting to pick up form now, etc. But I was looking at this guy. If we take a look at his scores, Lewis Martins, I was looking at him around here because he started picking up some decent AA. A couple of games that I watched, he was bombing forward. A couple of games I watched and he was taking corners and took some free kicks off of Gressel, which was surprising, especially when I had Gressel at that time, or I've still got him. But as a super rare, it was slightly annoying. And I just thought, let me just keep an eye on this guy. Now, last 3 performances have been, pretty shit. But he does start, and they've got a good run of 3 home games here, right? So I brought him in for quite cheap. Get him playing cap 240 for me. I also brought in Brian White. Now, same team, same collection, so I can build. And there's another person on this team that I do want to bring in weeks to come, and I potentially might even bring in their super rare as well. It's not Ryan Gold. I don't have that sort of funds at the moment. I am literally broke. Brian White comes in. I wanted a forward, again, capable of playing low priority lineup, so I can pair him with Gressel, I can pair him with Luis Martins if I need to, but he's somebody who starts, he's somebody who can score, he's got a decent contract. I see him sticking around for a little while in my gallery. I was also looking at Ramirez, who plays for Columbus, and I'll probably bring him in the future because he pairs with my Lucas Zelarain if they're playing in a one-off game week, like 386. I could use him there. But that was part of the reason why I brought in Tyler Miller as well, is because he's a goalkeeper who's playing next. The other reason why I brought in Tyler Miller was to pair it with this guy as well. You can tell there that he's solid. It kind of reminds me of Yeimar for Seattle. He's picking up decent AA, and he seems to be a very, very big threat for them in set pieces, scoring 3 this season. Picked him up for, as I said, to pair with Tyler Miller in this game week when they play against Dallas. So I've got that nice defensive stack. Even though away from home, 5 out of the next 6 are at home. A nice cheap option. Again, if I was to compare him to Yaymar's basically doubled the price, maybe even triple the price for a new card. And I feel as though he does the same job that Yeimar does at the moment. I have now got 5 starting goalkeepers in the MLS, which allows me to play either 4 really strong teams and play the matchup, or try and squeeze 5 out there as well. I've never been in this position with goalkeepers before. I am now in a position to put out 5 lineups because I made the decision not to go into cap super rare, cap 240 super rare. I think that from a strategy point of view, my next move will definitely be into the super rare 240, because now I feel as though I'm strong enough to really compete for rewards in the next 6 or 7 weeks, and hopefully I can start gaining some players, selling them on whatever's going to happen, to then go into and buy that big purchase for a cap 240 super rare European goalkeeper. That is the plan. Now, defenders wise, as I said, I've now got these stacks and I've got these pairs. I've got Nuhu in there. It's another super rare. Gives me really, really good options. Pines, we've already spoken about. And I am just talking about my summer gallery here, guys. You'll obviously see Gears Small here, who's actually, I think his price has risen up because Benfica might be looking at him to replace Grimaldo. So if he does that, yeah, I'm buzzing for that. Lovitz is still in here. Lewis Martin's new card, which would be nice once I start picking up that collection. Brooks Lennon super rare is still there, even though he's rare. Sorry, has gone. Zimmerman's in there as well, and I'm stacking that up. He's already on 8%, so leveling it up. Eric Sviatchenko, he has lost his extra 6%, I think, that I had on him, or it must have been 5%, for his season bonus, which is a little bit annoying, but whatever. Midfielder-wise, now we've added another absolute maestro, takes set pieces, from an AA point of view. I mean, when I look at this, probably these top 6, have I got another one in there? Yeah, Sorare at the bottom. But even these top 5 rares, they all take set pieces. They are all key parts of their team. They are, young enough to have an extra, 3 years, I'd say, in the MLS, even Herrera. They are just absolute powerhouses, and it's exactly what I've been working towards. Zelarain, Heel, Reynoso, Herrera, not so much Tommy, but these first 4 are capable of not losing me a lineup, and they're just powerhouses in that midfield spot. From a forward point of view, this is probably the position that I'm lacking a little bit. I can squeeze 5 lineups out of this. So if we said Bunbury, put him into cap 240, and then kind of work our way up in terms of priority from there. Brian White, he could be going into maybe an American rare if I decide to play that week. We got Buanga, Insigne, and Johnny Russell that I can always kind of chop and change. But I'd say Insigne is obviously my top forward. I'll probably miss him one more forward, like who's top level, and I have somebody in mind for that, and 1 cap. Midfielders, I'm done, in my opinion. I'm there. Defenders, I could probably get in that Cascanti to pair with Stuva, and maybe 1 other rare just to give me that flexibility. But I'm not really bothered. I would say let's just call it 1 defender, and goalkeepers absolutely not. So I think that I'm 3 purchases away from being really, really happy with my gallery. What I want to do is when the European season starts and I start to obviously get more invested in that, and I know that the MLS is going to be ending, I want to try and hold these players as much as I possibly can rather than jumping and chopping and changing. I've got a good starting point because I think that Unistal obviously stays as a number 1. And I also think that Mark Martinez might have a shot of being a number 1 next year. And I picked him up as being a backup for somebody as well, because their goalkeeper has moved on to bigger and better things, I think. So, I can start building. I can start building from there. So there we go. I'm happy, guys. I'm happy with my gallery. I'm happy with my decision, at least. I'm not going to look back and regret it. So there we go, guys. That is my gallery. That is my update. Do you agree with me? Do you think I've made the right decision? Should I have gone into Cap 240 Super Rare? Leave a comment down below as to what you think. What do you think of my purchases? If you like the video, hit the like button. If you want to see some more, hit that subscribe button. And as always, I'll see you in the future.